quadratic formula. So far we've looked at different methods for solving any quadratic equation. We've done factoring, which is fine to use. Using the zero product property is factoring. Those two go together. Graphing, y'all remember that? Left bound, right bound. Yeah. We did graphing. Yesterday we did completing the square. And now we're going to do the quadratic formula. Those are 4 different methods. Quadratic formula works for everything. So if you want to use the quadratic formula for solving any quadratic, you can. This is the quadratic formula. I will give this to you. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Now, in order to use the quadratic formula, your quadratic must be in standard form. So standard form is right here. Y'all know that already. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay? So make sure you have that down. Everybody got it? Yeah.
Will this be on the board for the test?
Yes. Quadratic formula will be given to you.
Along with all the other ones, right?
Correct. Alright. First example. 3x squared minus 5x equals 2. That is not in standard form, so you have to put it in standard form. So go ahead and write that down step by step, and let me know if you have any questions. So the first thing I did was subtract 2 from both sides. 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. List out a, b, and c.
Do we have to do that?
I mean, no. It helps some people to list it out. A is 3, B is negative 5, C is negative 2. And then plug it straight into the quadratic formula. You'll see in the next example that we even condensed this step. You should be able to condense this step and go straight to here for some of you. But then just simplify from there. Negative 5 squared is positive 25. Negative 4 times 3 times negative 2 is 24. And then we go up to here. Okay. So go through all those steps, write them down. Let me know if you have a question about those steps. Does it make sense? Let's see where I got the 2 and the negative 1/3 from.
Yes.
Okay. All right, can I change?
No.
All right, next one. Solve 2x squared. This is where we get some imaginary solutions. 2x squared equals negative 6x minus 7. Again, put it in standard form by bringing the minus 6x and the minus 7 over. So you get 2x squared plus 6x plus 7. Then we listed out the a, b, and c. Make sure you understand, because we skipped a step inside that radical. Make sure you understand 36 minus 56. Negative b plus or minus square root. B squared is 36. Minus 4 times a times c would be minus 56. All divided by 2 times a, which is 4. The 36 minus 56 becomes minus 20 inside the radical. Simplify the square root of negative 20 to 2i root 5. And then we can reduce, since both your numerators can divide into 4, we can reduce negative 6 over 4 to negative 3 over 2, and 2 over 4 to 1 over 2. Make sure you understand that before we move on. That is your final answer. That's how you leave it right there. Negative 3 plus or minus I root 5 divided by 2.
So if you have the square root sign in the numerator, you just leave it like this. You can't solve any further.
Correct. Okay, next one.
Why is it minus 56?
Because it's minus 4 times A times C. 4 times A times C is 56. The formula is minus 4AC. Okay? All right, the
Can you not
next...
change it?
Sure. Or I'll come back to it. All right, the next example, or no, before the example, you need to write these rules down. The highlighted part of the quadratic formula up there is called the discriminant. It does not include the radical. It just is the number underneath the radical. B squared minus 4AC is the discriminant. If I tell you to calculate the discriminant, you will calculate it using B squared minus 4AC, and there are 3 possibilities. And you're going to list those 3 possibilities here. If the discriminant comes out to be positive, then we know that there are 2 real solutions. Agree?
Sure.
Because if you have, say, 4 under the radical, if you take the square root of 4, that's 2. So plus and minus 2 is where you get your 2 solutions. So if we were to graph it, here's a possible solution for the graph. You have to be crossing the x-axis twice if you have 2 real solutions. Okay? Now the next possibility, if the discriminant is 0, then there's only 1 real solution, because if you take plus minus square root of 0, you'll get the same thing. Alright, and the graph would look something like this. The vertex would lie on the x-axis, and that would be your solution.
Is it always going to face down?
No. It could go up. Same thing with this one. This one could up and down. This is just a possible way the graph.
So it doesn't matter what number you put the point on either?
No. I mean, as long as you're crossing the x-axis twice for the first one and once for the second. And the last possibility is,
But you're not changing it. I'm just writing down the graph.
have you got the discriminant at the top part?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last possibility is, if the discriminant is negative, then there are 0 real solutions, but 2 imaginary solutions, just like we did in the previous example. So your graph here would never cross the x-axis. Alright, I can come back to this, but let me go ahead and go over the last example. And the last example tells you to calculate the discriminant and determine the number of solutions. Alright, so if we have x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0, again it has to be in standard form in order to use the discriminant. B squared minus 4AC ends up being 36 minus 4 times 1 times 8, so it comes out to be 4, which tells you there are 2 real solutions.
So